You're watching Talk Nerdy to Me with your host, Dr. Swift.
Hello, nerds and geeks alike. Thank you for joining us for another week of Talk Nerdy to Me. Today we'll be discussing the recent ban on public smoking, the consequences of secondhand smoke, and cancer. We'll hear from a cancer patient, a nightclub worker, and of course our nerdy friend, Dr. Boron. So help me welcome to the stage Janice, age 65, from a small town in southern Texas. She's been recently diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, yet has never smoked a single cigarette in her whole life. How does this happen? Dr. Boron will explain chemically how Janice developed cancer, but first let's hear from her. Thank you, Janice, for joining us today.
Hi, Dr. Swift. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So Janice, tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, I've worked as a bartender for the past 47 years. I'm well known in my community by all the regulars, so my job is actually pretty fun.
So Janice, when did you go to the doctors and why?
Well, about 6 months ago, I started to experience a bunch of weight loss and fatigue, and I figured it was just due to stress and long hours at work, but then I started coughing up blood, so that's when I knew something was wrong. I went to the doctors, and they eventually diagnosed me with lung cancer.
And how long did it take for them to diagnose you with lung cancer?
Well, I had a lot of blood tests done, and they all came back negative, so after a chest x-ray, that's when they saw the mass on my lungs.
And how long did they give you to live?
At first they told me it wasn't that bad, and they said it could be completely removed, but they found smaller masses on my other lungs, so they gave me no more than a year.
Man, you've never smoked a single cigarette in your life. With all that secondhand smoke you've been around, though, I wouldn't doubt that you've developed cancer from it. Dr. Boron, can you explain to us how Janice, a lady who's worked in a bar her whole life just to support her family, could develop terminal lung cancer, one that's going to take her from her family that she's worked so long to help support and make happy?
Well, Dr. Swift, it really is quite possible that Janice here could have developed lung cancer from secondhand smoke. You see, there are more than 7,000 chemicals that have been identified in secondhand smoke. At least 250 of these have been recognized or identified as harmful. Some of these chemicals include hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, and ammonia. Carbon monoxide is particularly dangerous because in the body it will attach to hemoglobin instead of oxygen, which lowers the body's capacity for oxygen intake and causes breathing issues. Carbon monoxide also has a half-life of up to 4 hours in normal atmospheric conditions, allowing more time for it to inhibit our oxygen intake. Another major part of secondhand smoke is the carcinogens present. There are at least 69 chemicals in secondhand smoke that cause cancer, including arsenic, cadmium, chromium, and polonium-210.
Thank you, Dr. Boron. So Janice, have you chosen to do treatment, or are you going to let cancer take its course?
No, Dr. Swift, I am taking weekly treatments to buy me some more time with my family.
Well, I commend you. Dr. Boron, can you explain to our viewers today what radiation is and how it works? Talk nerdy to me.
Oh, are we on? Oh. Well, Dr. Swift, radiation is energy that travels through space in the form of subatomic particles such as neutrons or electromagnetic waves like radio waves. Each type of radiation holds a different frequency. Low frequency waves are also low energy and are non-ionizing or are unable to break chemical bonds. These include things such as microwaves and television waves. The radiation used in therapy is much higher in energy, usually X-rays and gamma rays, and are able to break chemical bonds. By focusing these high energy waves on specific areas, they are able to shrink tumors or destroy cancerous cells.
Let's give Janice a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. She's been through a lot this last couple months, just trying to work for a few more months with her family. If you're just joining Talk Nerdy to Me, today's special is covering secondhand smoke, the ban on public smoking, and cancer. Now, I've asked another lady to join Janice and I to hear her experience working in a nightclub. Working in a nightclub has become her way for paying college tuition. Let's welcome to the stage 20-year-old Sprinkles. Thanks for joining us, Sprinkles. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your job.
Well, first of all, I no longer attend college. I decided it wasn't for me.
Interesting.
So, I'm a dancer, and I basically just dance, or do whatever I need to do to make money at the club.
Okay, so I understand you don't agree with the new law against public smoking. Why?
Well, since this new law has been passed, fewer men come to see my show, which means I make less money.
Is that all that bothers you, the money?
Yeah.
You're not worried about getting cancer or getting sick?
Lung cancer's a myth, lady. I just want my money.
Well, Sprinkles, Janice here has worked in a bar her whole life, but yet still has lung cancer. From secondhand smoke. She is living proof that secondhand smoke cancer is not a myth. Do you plan to work in the nightclub your whole life?
As long as I look like this, yeah.
I really think that you should consider taking a different life path and go back to college so you don't end up like me.
I appreciate the advice, lady, but I'ma do me. You ain't my mama.
I ain't trying to be your mother.
Whatever, lady.
I used to think just like you. I thought that nothing could happen to me working at a bar, being around secondhand smoke, but it obviously has its consequences.
Well, it'll be different for me. I just know.
Now, Sprinkles, I think all Janice is trying to say here is you're still young and you have the chance to change your life.
Okay, can we move on now?
So before we go to break, let's give Sprinkles a round of applause for joining us today.
Finally.
Don't go too far, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back to Talk Nerdy to Me after this short break.
Man, he's hot.
然后留点倒一倒，先帮给他送便当了。然后那个，然后就说你这个。
That's all state, Stan.
Welcome back to Talk Nerdy to Me. So far today we've heard Janice's story, a 65-year-old bartender who has recently been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer and has been given less than a year to live. We were just joined by a nightclub worker, Sprinkles, who opposes the ban on public smoking. So yesterday, my producers and I went into downtown Lansing to see what some of the community members had to say about the ban on public smoking. So watch this clip here.
Titania,
Excuse me.
get your brother off the train tracks.
Excuse me!
What?
Miss Ladashia, I'm supposed to be here interviewing you about your smoking habit and how that affects your kids and what you think about the new public ban on smoking.
First of all, it don't got no effect on my children. Second of all, this is America. Ain't we supposed to be free? I'm gonna do what I want.
Obviously, you're pregnant. You don't think that your smoking is making your baby any smarter, do you?
It ain't making it no dumber either.
Do you smoke inside the house?
Yeah, why not? It's my house. I'm gonna do what I want.
Well, thank you for your time. Obviously, she doesn't care about her children. So
How was
since
that?
we're out here, let's
Stop
go
kicking
see what the
baby Shay
neighbors
Shay.
think about her.
Janelle, get your head off the train.
So there's somebody over here. We're gonna go talk to them.
Where's the poop?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
I'm Dr. Swift from Talk Nerdy to Me. I was wondering if you had a minute to talk to me about what you think about the secondhand smoke in the community and the new ban on public smoking.
Oh, sure. What do you, like, a stance on the law? I think it's great, to be honest with you. I mean, it makes B-dubs a lot funner to go to. I get to bring my children there now, so we get to watch the big screen, get big games on the big screen. I mean, I don't know. I don't like that Lardisha or whatever. The woman who lives down the Ladashia.
Yeah, I just interviewed her. It didn't go well.
That woman who lives down the street.
It didn't go well.
I can't have my kids going over there, and I know they're great friends, but when she's smoking in the house, I can't have my children getting secondhand smoke.
That's horrible. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Nice to meet you.
Yep, have a good day.
So Janice, what do you have to say about our friend Ladashia?
Just not right. She's half past cuckoo.
Those poor kids. It looks like their mom smokes all the time, and it's really starting to affect them. I mean, they can't even have friends over anymore because the neighbors don't want their kids around Ladashia. Dr. Boron, talk nerdy to me, and please explain how Ladashia is putting her children in danger.
Well, Dr. Swift, approximately 90% of all secondhand smoke is composed of water and excess carbon dioxide. 4% is carbon monoxide, and the remaining 6% contains harmful chemicals. As I explained earlier, carbon monoxide attaches to hemoglobin, creating a loss of oxygen. With less oxygen in a person's body, more carbon dioxide is able to build up. When our bodies have excess carbon dioxide in our lungs, carbonic acid builds up, forming an equilibrium with carbon dioxide and water. Carbonic acid lowers the pH of our bodies, creating an acidic environment in our bodies, as is illustrated here in these chemical equations. Our bodies exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen in the lungs through a process known as diffusion. The diffusion between lung cells and the blood vessels is fueled by partial pressures, as is illustrated in this diagram. The partial pressures of carbon dioxide is greater than in the blood than in the lung cells, and the partial pressure of oxygen is greater inside the cells than the blood. Oxygen and carbon dioxide create a concentration gradient in order to diffuse in and out of the cells. Not only does secondhand smoke affect your breathing capacity, but it also damages blood vessels, making it easier for blood to clot. The chemicals can damage cell DNA and cause inflammation that damages the cells. The linings of our lungs can also experience permanent damage that can hinder the ability for our lungs to evenly exchange gases. This is especially significant when we're talking about young children. Children exposed to secondhand smoke are more likely to suffer from asthma, colds, bronchitis, pneumonia, middle ear infections, and sinus infections. So, Ladashia is indeed putting her children in an unhealthy environment, especially by smoking inside the house. Secondhand smoke can stay in a closed room for several hours. As time goes on, the smoke is slowly diffused and moves out of the room. But even in an open room with the door or window open, the smoke diffuses faster, but it still remains around for several hours.
Thank you, Dr. Boron. So Janice, are there any last remarks you'd like the audience to know before we go?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Good luck with your treatment and enjoy your last few months with your family.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there you have it. You've heard firsthand how one person's smoking can affect another's life. So if you're a smoker watching this program, I encourage you to think about your decisions before you light another one. We are out of time today, but thanks for joining us, and tune in next week to hear Dr. Boron talk nerdy to me about multidimensions and the string theory. Talk nerdy to me.
We dress into them. He picked me up, we made me feel so lucky. He kissed me in his, we be making